On This Week in Early News, we talk about Batfleck, Suicide Squad losing its director, and we got some new footage, some new images from the set of Deadpool 2. Stay tuned for Early News. So it's post-Comic-Con. We don't have a lot coming out recently. Obviously, we still have so much coming out. We don't have a lot like we did Comic-Con and pre-Comic-Con. But there's a lot of big news, some big news that confirms some things that happened at Comic-Con. So let's just jump right into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about some DC news. So DC news, big thing that's happening right now, there's three big things. So Suicide 2 was supposed to be coming out in the next couple years. They had a director signed on, but what ends up happening is his name is, I think, Hame Kole Serra. I'm not sure if that's the correct pronunciation. I'm sorry if I butchered that name, but he's had kind of officially signed on, but it turns out he's actually going to end up doing a Disney movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson instead. So he's doing a Disney movie called Jungle Cruise, so he's officially off the project. David Ayer was supposed to be on for Suicide Squad 2. He's off the project as well because he's doing a Gotham City Sirens movie, so he's moved on to two other projects. There was talk a long time ago about Mel Gibson being the director of the Suicide Squad 2 movie. I really hope that that doesn't happen. They don't revisit that situation. I think actually Mel Gibson passed on that role. But there's so much going on in the DCEU. It's just going to be really interesting to see what they are able to do with all of this negative stuff that's always happening, because we have a couple other things that confirm some rumors and some other thing that is just so weird that I'm going to talk about now. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is Superman Mustache Gate. So I know that sounds ridiculous, but there's a huge problem on the reshoots of Justice League that should be happening right now. So Henry Cavill right now is also filming the next Mission Impossible movie, and in this movie he has a mustache. And the director of this Mission Impossible movie has basically said, no, Henry, you cannot shave off this mustache for your Justice League reshoots. This basically is going to mean that Henry Cavill is going to have a huge mustache during the reshoots, and Warner Brothers is going to have to CGI his mustache off his face. And this is just hilarious to me because this is such a one, waste of resources. Two, it's not like you can't get a fake mustache for people at this point. Like, why is it a big deal that he has a real mustache? Like, we figured that out. This series has figured out how to switch faces, the Mission Impossible series. Like, why is it a thing where they need him to have this actual mustache? He could easily shave it off. They could give him a fake mustache. And so this is just really interesting. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this. I think it's completely and totally ridiculous. I don't really understand how this Justice League movie just keeps going on with these problems, so I'm really hoping that this movie turns out even halfway decently at this point. Like, I don't even want it to be good, I just kind of want it to be average, as long as it's just not bad like Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad were. So let me know down in the comments what you think about Mustache Gate. So Deadpool 2 brought out some images of Zazie Beetz as Domino, and she looks fantastic. The white around her eye, that just natural black woman hair, she's just got it all. Like, it's just looking like the black girl magic in that hair is just fantastic. She looks amazing in her new Deadpool Domino suit. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to see her character. I've been very excited for these little clips that we've seen from this movie. This movie was so funny. It was so groundbreaking when it came out. So I'm sure the second one is going to be awesome. Obviously, we're getting cable too, so that's going to be crazy. How they're describing this movie, and this is what's been coming out, is that this is basically going to be like a Rush Hour with superheroes. So it's going to be like a buddy cop comedy, which I think is super hilarious between Deadpool and Cable. So I think that's going to be an awesome dynamic. Let me know what you think down in the comments if that's what you're looking for. I know a lot of people might not like that, but Deadpool's character is obviously, there's a lot of comedy that's gone on in the past with Cable and Deadpool. So let me know down in the comments what you think about this twist to this movie. So Ant-Man the Wasp is officially in production. I'm really excited about this movie too. I know I'm always saying that I'm excited about movies, but I really am enjoying all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies and what they're doing right now. So I'm really looking forward to what this movie gives us. It drops July 16th, 2018. So looking forward to that. Put that date on your calendar, mark that in. Ant-Man and the Wasp. So we have Paul Rudd back as Ant-Man. We have Evangeline Lilly back as the Wasp, so we get our returning cast back. So what ends up happening at this movie is that this is taking place after Civil War, and Ant-Man is basically trying to deal with the repercussions of him being a superhero and him being the father. And basically what happens is as he's trying to readjust to being a father and with his back home life, Hank Pym and Hope Van Dyne come with him with a brand new mission. So that's just the premise. That's not a lot to go with there, but obviously the Wasp is going to have a bigger role. We see her suit at the end of the first Ant-Man. So it's going to be really interesting to see what goes along with that. Another thing I found out, which is really cool, and I did not realize, is that Michelle Pfeiffer and Lawrence Fishburne are supposed to be in this movie. I think that's awesome. For me, this means something interesting. That means probably Lawrence Fishburne will not be in any more DCEU movies. So that's really kind of interesting to see. I did not expect that at all. I mean, unless he's like signing one-off contracts, and if he's doing that, I guess he absolutely probably could. Maybe he just doesn't have a new contract for the new Superman movie yet, so this allows him to do a Marvel movie. So it'll be interesting to see what goes along with that. But I'm really excited to see Lawrence Fishburne in this movie. I'm not sure what his role will be. I'm assuming he's going to be some kind of villain, but that'll be cool to watch. So in things that I don't understand news, apparently James Cameron is in talks to reboot the Terminator franchise. So if you don't know, James Cameron's been been behind all the Terminator movies up to this point. We've had, I believe, 4 plus the Sarah Chronicles or something like that. I'm not really too versed in what that happened. That was a TV show. But none of these movies have been good since the Terminator 2 movie. I understand that it might be a good idea to reboot the Terminator franchise. I feel like you could do that. But one thing that I'm concerned about is it's still relevant. That's would be an interesting thing to see. And 2, how can you make it fresh? These are also things that James Cameron said. I've thought about these immediately. It's like, is this really relevant at the time with all the stuff that we have going on? Are you really going to be able to make this new and unique enough? The other thing that is crazy about this is that apparently the Arnold is also part of these talks. So if this is true, it's going to be really, really interesting. Let me know what you think down in the comments about another Terminator. Do you like it? Do you hate it? How could they actually work this in? How could they make this story relevant for now? I have also another interesting thing to talk about. So this is more of a pop culture side rather than the nerd side, but a couple things have come out recently that I find to be extremely interesting, and I just wanted to talk about them on this episode. So we now have 2 shows that are in the works for universes that are alternate timelines of America. So the HBO series Game of Thrones, the writers of that have a project in the works called Confederate. And this show is basically about an alternate universe where the South won the Civil War and slavery is still a modern institution, and they are now on the brink of a 3rd Civil War. So the writers of Game of Thrones have headlined this. Apparently they've brought on 2 writers from Empire to come on to this. The 2 writers from Empire are obviously black writers, so they're trying to bring that in the mix because there was a lot of backlash about this particular project, this alternate history. Do we really need to see an alternate history has more stuff about how white supremacy is okay? So it's been really interesting to see this develop. People have been like, no Confederate and things like that. Hashtag no Confederate was all over Twitter and stuff like that. I feel like it's a dangerous idea. It could be interesting to see what it's going to be like. But these 2 writers have done a lot of things in Game of Thrones and like that. I'm a fan of Game of Thrones, but some of the things they do, I feel like cross the line a little bit with some of the scenes. And I think that it would be very difficult for me as a person of color to watch a episode of one of these shows with a scene where somebody was getting whipped or things like that. I mean, unless they're just killing slave masters every episode, like this is the Chappelle Show, like that's fine. Like if they do that, then I know a lot of people will watch, but I don't really feel like that's what's going to be the case here. So that's one show that's happening. Let me know down in your comments what you think about that. So I want to flip the script because Aaron Magruder is creating and writing a show called Black America right now. And this is another alternative history where African Americans have actually been giving reparations for the Civil War, and those reparations are in the form of 3 states, Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, I believe. So they have these 3 states, and they're their own separate country away from the United States of America. But the conflicts here is that obviously there's been other things, there's been coups, there's been things to try to take down this, I think it's called New Colonia, try to take down this new African-American state that's been created. And I find this one interesting, more interesting for me based on the fact that the writers, who the writers were, It's written by Aaron McGruder. If you don't know who Aaron McGruder is, if you never watched the TV cartoon Boondocks, watch the TV cartoon Boondocks. It is a fantastic series. Don't watch the fourth season when he wasn't involved. It was the fourth or fifth season, I can't remember when he was involved, but the first 3 or 4 seasons are absolutely great. And he's great at writing about race. So it's really going to be interesting to see. I'm more comfortable with this show just simply because of who's writing it. I believe, and the premise I feel like is way better. But I'm more comfortable because Aaron McGruder is writing it and I just love his work. And I feel like that's just a bias. I feel like I'm not maybe looking at this objectively. So I would love to hear your thoughts about what this is here. So let me know down in the comments what you think about this. Do you like it? Do you think neither of these shows should be created? Do you think one of these shows should be created? Do you think both of these shows should be created? Let me know in the thoughts. We'll have a conversation. Love to see what you guys think. So our last thing here is we're going to get back to our DCEU, and it's finally looking like it might be confirmed that Ben Affleck actually is officially signing on for the Matt Reeves Dark Knight trilogy. So if you haven't been caught up with all the news, like originally Batman was being played by Ben Affleck, he signed on and he was supposed to be writing the upcoming solo Batman film. So obviously he's been in Batman v Superman, he's in the Justice League. So he was supposed to be doing the next Batman film. He was supposed to be writing it, he had a script and everything, and he was going to be directing it and playing Batman. So then he's kind of stepped away a little bit, realizing how much effort all of this would be, all the work that was being put into it. I don't think that's the exact reason, but it's a lot. Doing a solo Batman film, writing it, directing it, also being in Justice League. These are huge productions. They take up a lot of time. So it looked like he was stepping away. Right before Comic-Con, it looked like there were rumors out that they were looking for a different Batman. There was a couple things that were coinciding with this that could make it seem like they might be changing Batman, and one of those announcements was the fact that they're doing the Flashpoint story for the Flash, which could reboot the universe in a way where they can make minor tweaks, because that's what happens in Flashpoint. Like minor things are changed about the DC universe. So that even more was looking like, oh, maybe they're looking to do this story so they can bring in somebody else to play Batman. And well, it's looking like that might not be the case now. Looking that Ben Affleck has now signed on possibly for 3 Batman movies, so the whole trilogy, and a 4th Batman Beyond movie. So if you don't know what Batman Beyond is, it's set in the future, like the 2046, I believe, somewhere around there. And Batman is older and cannot don the cape, so a younger Batman comes in to don the cape, and Batman, Bruce Wayne Batman, ends up playing the Alfred type role, like this grumpy Alfred who's helping out the younger Batman. So I'm actually, if this happens, I'm really excited. Batman Beyond was actually a great cartoon. I thought it was really, really, really good and really well done. It would be interesting to see that. It'll set up some interesting stuff in the DCEU. So I'm really hoping that this is the case. I would love to see 3 Batman movies. I'm really hoping that we can see a Robin in one of these movies, other than just, we're getting a Nightwing movie, but I do want to see, I want to see a Damian Wayne. I really do. Like, I love Damian Wayne. I'm a League of Assassins person. I'm a League of Shadows person. Like, I am. I just love that concept. I really do. So, like, I've always been down with, like, the Ra's al Ghul, the Talia al Ghul, and Damian Wayne. I just love that whole thing. I don't know why. I just do. And I personally like Damian Wayne as Robin just because I feel like he is just a little bit more... He's just a little bit more ruthless, and I don't know why I like that as a character, but he is. So I'm really hoping that we see that Robin in there. I'm hoping we see a Nightwing. I mean, we're getting a Batgirl, so I'm wanting to see like a Bat Family type thing. Like maybe the 3rd movie could be a Bat Family movie, which would be like the Red Hood movie. Like that would be really cool to see. So let me know what you think down in the comments, what you think about this news. Ben Affleck signing on for 3 movies and a Batman Beyond movie. So I'm really excited about it. Let me know what you think. So that's it for this episode. There's a lot of stuff. Not as much as we usually get, but still we got a lot of things. Let me know what you think about any of these stories. I'll post some links to some of these stories down in the description so you can have those. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you have any other news or things you think I should talk about, put them down in there too. I'd love to talk about them. Love to see what your guys' suggestions are. My name is Oscar Hampton. This is Boldly News. Later days.